Welcome to Mind Amendment, the podcast that dares to challenge the ways that we think about mental health, physical health, addiction, and healing. Welcome back to Mind Amendment. It is Pride Month, and today we're continuing our powerful series, Healing in the Margins with Ashley Hampton, a licensed therapist who's helping us unpack what it means to feel seen, not just served in therapy. If you've ever walked into a space and thought, this isn't for me, this episode is for you. To our audience and to you, my friend Ashley Hampton, welcome to part 2 of our 4-part series. I'm so excited to continue with you.
Same.
And right before we started filming this, we were talking about something, and I was like, pause. I want to open with this. We were talking about a quote from Will and Grace, the first gay representation show. That our queer representation show that I had in the media as a young person. And I remember thinking, the difference between they had the Jack and Will.
Yes.
And Will was the masculine guy, but also clearly had a lot of, what is it called? Internalized homophobia that he hadn't dealt with. And Jack was I'm living exactly how I am, and I remember not only me, but others as like we would tell you, I'm Will and you're Jack, and Jack was always the person you didn't want to be.
Wow.
And today I'm like, I love embracing the spirit of Jack.
Yes. I love that too. And I love that for you. I think you deserve to be able to be whoever you are.
That's right.
And we didn't talk about saying this, but when you just said that, it made me think about like, as that show, like what it represented though, was that the Wills got ahead. Will was successful.
True.
Will, and Jack, it's like, oh gosh, if you're like that, then you're going to struggle your whole life.
Yeah.
And so I think for people like you, for people in general to be who they are and to not be the ones struggling, I think that's the representation that we need to continue to foster and see.
Yeah.
Because it's just not true.
It's not true. And, I fight all the time with like slipping back, because we're very close outside of the screen, and I slip in times of, when my internalized homophobia or feeling of lack of safety, I slip into a more buttoned up, less gay, less feminine. And I mean, heck, right now I'm not in my full...
Your full glory.
Yeah, but if you want to see it, go to my Instagram and you can see a Happy Pride video that I did in full glam.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
You haven't seen it?
No, I don't
Ashley,
think so.
Giselle, Monet, Shanae, L'Oreal, Hampton.
I'm so sorry. I can't wait to watch it though.
I just had to take a moment of silence for the fact. All right, so now we're going to actually get into opening this episode up. Ashley, you said something that stuck with me. We didn't build a clinic. We built a home for the folks who were never invited into the room. That speaks volumes about what inclusion actually looks like. So let's start today with a quick quiz game to explore what affirming care really means.
Okay.
All right. So just like in part 1, you're going to label each of these cringe, crutch, or competent.
Okay.
But
the
audience doesn't know that I gave you the right answer on part 1. Ashley does not know any of the answers for this one, y'all. So this is a real test of...
So I'm being quizzed, like literally.
You are literally being quizzed.
You, though, are quizzing me.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rainbow flag in the lobby. Intake form still only has male/female.
Cringe.
Dun, dun, dun. B, clinicians have lived experience and the space is designed for safety from the first 5 minutes.
Love it.
Which is...
competent.
Amen. C, we offer therapy, but only during work hours because our staff can't be flexible.
No.
Which is...
cringe.
And it's a crutch because it's lazy.
And it is a little... Well,
it's cringe and crutch.
It's crutch and cringe.
It's a cringy crutch. I should have done like what we may do, like F, which is answer C and C and
D, all of the above.
Speaking of D, here we go. D, we treat everyone the same because we're colorblind here.
Cringe. Af.
Amen. I'm gonna give you that one. You can rephrase what the labeling can be of the answers. Okay, so moving on. What does real belonging feel like, and how can we tell the difference from performative inclusion? So, my first question under this is, what does it actually look like to decolonize therapy in practice? And when I say in practice, you can take that to mean therapy practice, but I mean...
No, I think that's a very big question. So I'm not going to presume to be able to answer all of it. But what I will say, I read something the other day that was like, you don't have to try to fit in because you already belong, or something like that. And I think that has stuck with me as I think about our practice. Everyone at Hampton House identifies as Black, brown, queer, and or neurodivergent. And that just happened. Like it was that's who was coming. And then we were like, wait a second, what if this is what we just created, a space of belonging for marginalized clinicians so that they're not the first or the only in their sight? Because I know what it's like to be a first and an only. It is as everything we've already said, right? It is sad, it is hard, it is lonely, it is isolating, and it honestly like dampens your light and your ability to do this work. And so when we started Hampton House, I had been doing this for almost a decade, and I was getting close to just being like, I don't have much more to give. And so Hampton House, right? So that, to me, that is a radical act of everyone in this space will have one commonality, which is our marginalized identities. Now, everyone is different within that. And so how do we honor each person? I don't know the answer to that. We're still working. We're still trying. We're still growing. We're still learning. But I think that creating a space that hasn't existed is a huge part of decolonizing and decolonizing therapy practices. So, we're not... Yes, we treat trauma. Yes, we treat anxiety, depression, or eating disorders, but our sight isn't on what we treat and what modality we use. It's who we are. Mm-hmm. And that then helps people who are looking for that type of safety to know, oh, there is a place that is like who I am. So I want our clients to feel like their provider loves like them, looks like them, moves like them. Now, we're not going to know everything about them. That's not the point. The point, though, is safety. Mm-hmm. And that's through and through what we try to do.
Being a white person that came from a very white town, from a lot of privilege and a lot of ignorance, I want to ask you, because I think it's important to... I keep coming back to this place of, I know there are so many people out there that are still like where I came from. And if shows like mine, if platforms don't start reaching them, like, they're not going to do the research on their own. And so I do like to ask questions targeted towards people that are saying, we invite you into the conversation. We're not throwing shame at you for being ignorant, or we're not going to label you, what have you. And so what I want to say about that is some of these questions are framed, and they may seem to us or many people watching, they may seem like, duh, but not, there are some that this doesn't come natural to. So yeah. I kind of wanted to set that up, because I don't want it to seem condescending to anyone or dumbing down. But we're all approaching this from
different stages.
Yes.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.
So when you think about, because you talked about this earlier about how you were in class and you had a woman talking about cultural competency to you, and then everybody looks to you and said, as the student, but you're the, representing. I get that. But when we talk about what safety means for someone that's BIPOC, LGBTQ+, neurodivergent, how would you explain to someone why a completely compassionate, caring, cisgender, straight, white, female or male may not feel safe to one of those communities that I referenced?
Yeah, I think research shows that when you're in a room with people who look like you feel safer. I mean, that's just a thing. And I think that when you are living in this world, in this state, there's a lot of not knowing. I've had tons of clients who will come to our practice who have said, I really liked my therapist. I thought they were wonderful. They helped me, but I felt like I couldn't talk about my gay identity with them. I didn't know if it was safe to. That tells me that therapist may have been a safe person, but they didn't go that extra mile of saying, I want all parts of you in this room. They don't know to extend the invitation because they've never not gotten one. And I think that's the problem. I think there are a lot of great, wonderful therapists that are white and cis, but they don't know what it is like to not belong or be othered. And so therefore, they aren't inviting people to safety. They don't know how to create safety because they've never been unsafe in that way. Does that make sense?
1,000%.
Or I can't tell you, Hampton House started during George Floyd. I can't tell you how many white therapists didn't even reach out to me to ask how I was doing, to ask what was going on with me. That was my community that I had been a part of forever. I think that it is a fear of doing something wrong that they do nothing. And I think that is what makes people not feel safe.
What do you say to people that are in the fear, like that are acting from the place of the fear of doing something wrong, therefore not doing anything?
Do your work.
That's easy to say.
Well, and I think
no, what I mean is, okay, do your work. But what do we, like,
I feel like
I'm very much in this era right now of we're struggling. The marginalized communities are struggling.
Yes.
Because we're consistently saying, do the work. But I think that I know there's a bunch of gross, and I'm not even going to say what they're labeling, blank fatigue on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen this right now. Okay. But there are people that are saying yada, yada, fatigue because they hear so much about it. They don't have anybody in their orbit saying, this is the simple place that you can start. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to eat the whole elephant. You can do one bite at a time. Because they're not getting that narrative at their all white church.
Right.
From their prayer group, from their whatever that they're going to. So if we that represent, whatever part of the communities, marginalized communities that we're talking about, aren't offering these olive branches of, hey, if you want to just start here, what's the simple way that you can start other than just saying do the work?
Well, let me explain why I said that. I want to expand.
Okay.
You said if they feel afraid to create safety. Fear is an emotion. When I say do the work, I mean, you got to work through your fear before you're going to want to learn. Fear stops us from learning. I offer trainings all the time. Our nonprofit Healing the Margins offers competency trainings to white, straight, cis therapists. And if you're too afraid to go to those trainings, then how will you ever do the work? So to me, the olive branch of do your work, it's figure out why you feel unsafe. And then absolutely, I believe we have to educate people. I believe we have to create safety for all people to learn. And in my personal, I can't speak for every training out there. There are tons. But in my trainings, I love working with white, cis, straight therapists. The problem is not enough of them are reaching out to do that work.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel safe.
We're going to talk about more of this,
Okay.
but we're all exhausted.
Everyone's exhausted.
So people are exhausted from trying to be competent enough, or maybe they haven't, or they don't know about their fear or whatever. So but I want to play devil's advocate, say they're both sides of the coin of it's really, I've said it before, do the work. But the real answer is what you just said. It's not do the work. It's calling it out and saying there are therapists that are still operating out of fear, and what needs to happen is, and providing reason, in my opinion, now we might disagree on that. Again, this show is all about dissent. So you and I might have a dividing line, but that's where I call to you and say, let's join together as a community and offer, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. When I say the therapist of me, do your work means your emotional healing. And then the work to me is continuing your education.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, because that's going to lead into so much of what we have to talk about today. You covered my next question. So we're going to move to question number 3. Walk us through what happens in the first 5 minutes when someone walks into Hampton House, and why is that moment so different?
Well, I would even say that it starts before the walk-in, if I could do so. I think that first phone call, we want to know about your identity. We want to know about how you want to be seen in the therapy practice, and if there is any identity expression that would resonate with you. And those are the questions we're asking before they even come in the door. Who are you? Who would you feel safest with? What do you want out of this? We are asking those questions. And then we do the part of, okay, when you get there, this is where you go. This is how you get there. And if you don't feel comfortable with your provider for any reason, call us. We will help you find someone that is the best fit for you, because therapy is like dating. We ain't all it, and we do our best, but it's not for everyone. So I think that is important to say. And then you walk into our office and you're going to see representation on our walls. You're going to see warmth. You're going to see color. You're going to see joy. You're going to see a space that was actually made for you, with you in the forefront. You're going to see furniture where all bodies can fit on it. You're going to see spaces where we have a gender inclusive bathroom, right? You're going to see literally you on a wall at some point in our office. And so I think that's where it starts. It's the intentionality. Also, our practice is on major bus lines so that it's actually accessible. There is nothing worse than saying, I want all people to come to my practice, but not all people can get there.
Preach.
And so all of that is like the legwork that we thought of before we even got a lease.
Yeah.
And I think too often people wait and it's an afterthought. Mm-hmm. At Hampton House, we thought of you from the very beginning in everything that we do.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
How does holistic care like bodywork, energy healing, and or spiritual integration enhance trauma recovery?
I love it all. I think it enhances everything. I think that when we experience trauma, there is such a disconnect from body to survive. And I think that serves us and that protects us in those moments. And so we're so thankful for that. And as you are processing through trauma and doing that deep, deep, deep healing work, if we don't start to integrate, then we lose senses of ourselves. We lose pieces of ourselves. And so I think that body work is so important. I think trauma-informed, safe body work is even better. I'm a huge, huge, huge believer of that. And I think that as our models expand, that would be so important to me to be able to have different safe spaces where it's like, okay, this is where you can get a massage. Can we do community sound baths? Can we, and we do a lot of that already, but I think it's so important because so many of us have lost connection with our body because for so long it didn't feel safe to be in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Integration is what I think. That's just like that. The word
integration is like one of my words for this year. How do we integrate our values with our actions? How do we integrate our healing with our being, with our body? So yeah.
Heck yes. Okay, my final question for this episode. For therapists or allies in more traditional settings, what's one thing that they can do today to make their spaces safer?
I think they can ask, what does safety look like for you? And do you feel safe with me as your provider?
So now let me challenge you on that. Do you feel like someone in practice, though, are they going to feel comfortable enough to speak up and say, I need this?
I think that if a therapist asks, do you feel safe here? Do you feel safe with me as your provider? I think that is an invitation to the conversation. And that's an invitation that I don't see happen often. So I think literally checking in on that. So people go to therapy typically in crisis.
Yeah.
So we're going to get in. Nobody wants to do 2 intakes. Nobody wants to do 4 or 5. So we're going to get in. We're going to do the work. Crisis is going to resolve. That is when I see people wanting to dive into identity work. Their queer work. Their Black work, right? And if a therapist isn't checking in and saying, okay, listen, these were your initial goals. We've met them. Are you sure I'm the best fit for you right now for where you're going on your journey next? Just giving someone the invitation to say, you know what? I think having a trans therapist right now would heal me. You're their therapist. You're the one who's been walking along them on their journey. What would it be like to invite them to really sit with that? Because I know that I'm not a therapist for everyone for every single season of their journey. None of us are.
In closing, what do you believe about for the non-therapists out there, if you have a business mind, you understand this. For therapists, you totally get this. But, you run up against what you're talking about is sending someone out who is a regular client you rely on, which ethically should be what everyone does.
Yeah.
But the economy is going to economy and the world's going to world. And not every people operate out of fear, as you said. What is your belief about what happens when you truly do what you just said and put the client's needs first, even when it means that you are losing an entire, weekly client? What do you believe happens in the ethos?
I think in the ethos, you're doing no harm. I think in the ethos, like, you are helping someone. And I think that scarcity mindset has kept me in spaces of like, and I think that when we really put healing at the forefront, I think that not only do we heal, but our clients do. And therefore, I think our work just grows and expands. And so I feel like abundance flows when we don't operate from fear of loss, but we live into the model of, I don't want to do harm. I want to help and heal people. And I can say personally, the moment that I let go of that, that is when my life changed. And that is when the work that I did changed as well for the better 110%.
That part.
That.
All of that.
And
yes, I do.
It's so true.
Oh, Ashley Hampton, thank you so much.
Thank
Part
you.
2 has been amazing. For those of you who skipped, didn't watch part 1, shame on you. Just kidding. Go back and watch it before you tune in next week for part 3. Cannot wait for you all to be there. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you to the audience, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us for part 2 of Healing in the Margins. This Pride Month, we're not just celebrating who we are, we're building the world we deserve. Follow Mind Amendment for updates, and don't forget to send this episode to someone who is ready to build safer spaces for all. Like, comment, and follow our show to keep these conversations going.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.